Alright. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boots on the Ground live stream. We're glad you're here. My name's Thomas Guerra, and I'm with F Fentanyl. We're an organization built with lived experience, and we're dedicated to ending the overdose crisis. Happy to have you on board. We have two great guests today. JC Ortiz with Punk Rock Saves Lives.
How's it going, guys?
And Yamila Roland Escalona with Yaya por Vida. Welcome, guys. And so we're out here doing real work, boots on the ground, connecting folks with offering, supporting, and equipping people with life-saving tools and information. Today's live stream is all about highlighting the work that we do, specifically with these great organizations, Punk Rock Saves Lives and Yaya por Vida. Before we get started, I do want to share a couple of things that we got coming up with F Fentanyl. A week from today is National Fentanyl Awareness Day. We'll be doing an overdose prevention training live in person at the Westchester Branch Library in Miami, Florida. The address is there. And then I'll give you a little plug. Yamila, I know you have an event coming up. You want to share on that?
Yes, so this is going to be our 5th year anniversary. We have a artist healing auction that we do every year. All of the proceeds go to our Art as Healing program. We use art and music as a tool to show people how to express themselves through the midst of trauma, heal from substance use disorder. So this year it will be called La Resistencia, and that will be August 30th from 3 to 7. At the Mackenzie Project and Trans Social on Flagler and 83rd in Miami, Florida.
Fantastic. All right. And just for anybody that's live, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you have any questions or comments that you want to put in the chat, feel free to do that. We'll be able to get to that live. We can see the questions and comments right now. So feel free to put them in there, and we'll get to them at some point in the live stream here. But I'm excited to learn about you guys and about the work that you guys do. So let's get right to it. First, why don't we start off with some introduction and introduce your organization and share what inspired you to get involved with the work. Actually, you know what? I just realized I still got the music on. Let me take that off. There we go. So we can hear this completely better.
There you go. I can hear you now.
So just briefly introduce your organization, share what inspired you to get involved in this work. And I'll start off with JC. Why don't you start us off?
No, cool. Yeah. So again, JC Ortiz with the South Florida chapter of Punk Rock Saves Lives. We're a national nonprofit organization focused on wellness and equality within the punk rock and just music community in general. Myself, I'm an Army veteran, was overprescribed opioids and, different medications. So I had my own substance abuse problems, cut till, a few, years after getting out in 2012, found Punk Rock Saves Lives and their mission of handing out harm reduction, signing people up for the National Bone Marrow Registry and all the different things that they do was really inspiring for me in my own healing journey and having that sense of service as well to be able to give back to the community. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
Awesome, fantastic. Thanks, JC.
Thank you.
Yamila, how about yourself?
Thank you so much, JC, for starting. My name is Yamila Roland Escalona, and I'm the Executive Director of Yaya por Vida Harm Reduction. We are also a nonprofit organization that does travel harm reduction work from Miami all the way up to Indian River counties over at the Treasure Coast of Florida. We use art, music, and now dance as a healing tool to be able to help those that are suffering from substance use disorder to use creative expression when it comes to what they're going through. Oftentimes when you're going through traumatic situations, when you're going through so many different things that we have going on in our lives, that's actually the root cause of substance use disorder. Substances are just the symptom. We help these individuals and their families to be able to lead a better quality of life through these tools. What inspired me to do this work? So I lost my only sister about, it's getting on close to 6 years, December 28th of 2019, due to an accidental fentanyl overdose. I am also a person that is now in long-term recovery, using psychedelics as a healing tool for harm reduction for myself as well, which has saved my life, quite honestly. And it's a very hard job, but it is a very rewarding job for me to be able to live my sister's legacy every single day, knowing that she didn't leave us in vain.
Awesome, fantastic. Fantastic. I appreciate you guys being here today. As you can see on the bottom, I'm sharing some of the information so you guys can keep track of both Yamila and JC. Has the website, email, and the social media handle, particularly Instagram. I hope I got these right, guys. Perfect. And then, I mean, right to it. I know you guys do. Some of it is very similar work. We're right on the ground, right, working directly with people. This webinar focuses particularly on fentanyl, right, and how do we help people from fentanyl. And so the next question I have for both of you guys is, what are some of the most effective strategies that you found when engaging directly with people impacted by fentanyl? I'll switch it around. Yamila first.
So I think that, I mean, obviously, I know that this is very now cliche in the harm reduction industry to use meet people where they're at, but that is the core of our harm reduction principles. This is the foundation of where harm reduction work starts. And coming in with that non-judgmental approach, I've never used opiates, I've never used fentanyl, but I did have a loved one that did. And coming in not only with that non-judgmental approach, but with that lived experience to be able to provide that safe space for folks to not only get a little bit of an in as to what's going on, but to also feel comfortable letting you know, hey, this is my route of administration. This is what I'm going through housing wise right now. This is what's happening when it comes to my drug use. These are the tools that I need. I've overdosed before. I mean, these are all very, very sensitive pieces of information. And when you're out there working, particularly with the unhoused community, you have no one to trust. You don't know if someone's law enforcement. You're not sure if this individual is someone that can hurt you. So you really have to put yourself in a position where instead of barging in to someone's space, that you ask for an invitation to come in instead. That's the way that we train our volunteers. We don't come into your home and open the door. No, we call first, hopefully, then ring the doorbell, text, hey, is it okay if I could come to your home? Is it okay if I can come in? So that to me is probably one of the most important parts, not just with folks that use fentanyl, but also with anyone within the harm reduction space that you are trying to connect with.
Thanks, Yamila. Same question, JC. What are some of the strategies that you guys are doing over there at Punk Rock Saves Lives?
Yeah, and I love what you said, Yamila, because we see that same thing. I think there's a general level of kind of respect and kind of what I call white glove handling of things, especially with like the unhoused community and stuff like that. Our mission, of course, is based on music and equality and things like that. But there's also that community outreach portion of that as well. And that unhoused community is something, very dear to me because I've been very close to being a part of that community myself. And with the way things are in the world in general, any of us can be in that situation at any time. So I always, I focus on telling my volunteers that same thing. When we're going out, into the community. Downtown Fort Lauderdale, we're handing out blankets or handing out food, which we've done multiple over this past year and a half. Different unhoused drives, clothing, foods drives, and things like that, is to make sure that you have that level of respect, that you're asking kind of for that invitation into their area. I think it's a really good point. That people see organizations that are giving out harm reduction, that are doing these kinds of things, and sometimes they don't feel safe approaching that organization because they've had so many bad experiences at those traditional methods, right, exactly, those traditional, recovery centers or treatment centers. They don't necessarily want to talk to a suit, for lack of a better term. And I think that's where organizations like really, all three of our organizations kind of fit that need, where we provide a safe space at events. And it's a surprise to a lot of people when they see Punk Rock Saves Lives specifically at an event, because there's this common misconception, forever and ever and ever, that punks or punk rockers don't care about anybody, right? All they want to do is party and do drugs and fight with their friends in mosh pits and stuff like that. And when I say it's the complete opposite, it's so much the complete opposite. And the community of people that come to shows, especially our local events and stuff like that, surprised to see us and see that we have these outreach, avenues available that either they themselves never thought of because they're in that, at-risk category for overdose or, hardcore drug use, or they know somebody that is in that situation that's been in and out of treatment. So to be able to provide that kind of safe space where they go, whoa, there's this whole organization that's made up of people just like me that have tattoos, that dance around in mosh pits and do all this fun stuff, but they're also handing out all this harm reduction and these free mental health resources and not asking for anything in return, not signing up for an email list, not, we'll give you a discount, on Narcan, it's $47 or whatnot, $47.50 at CVS. We'll give it to you for $30. It's nothing like, it's completely free. If you need it, this is for you, along with, all the other harm reduction stuff. So it just all kind of ties together to that community outreach. That kind of support from those shows leads to that better community outreach and better community engagement.
Awesome. And I've learned a lot of this from organizations like you guys. You know what I mean? We're fairly new, and so like working with organizations like Yaya por Vida, and kind of when we're working in the community, building the trust of the people we serve is
everything.
Huge. You know what I mean?
It's mission critical. Yeah.
Exactly that. And when we're able to build that, is just so everything runs more smoothly and we can assist them more effectively, right? Which is huge. JC, so like you, and this is not listed here, but I just have a question in general. Like what type of events do you guys host, and what type of outreach do you guys do?
We table, or we haven't necessarily hosted our own events, at least not as our chapter anyways. Other chapters and nationals has, but any kind of event we do three of the same thing. We hand out free harm reduction. This is all the chapters across the country, so it's free harm reduction, fentanyl testing strips, Narcan, drink covers, period supplies and different feminine hygiene products, earplugs, all kinds of different stuff. Signing people up for the National Bone Marrow Donor Registry to fight against blood cancer. We do the swabbing on site, and then free mental health resources as well. So that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of everything that we provide at events that are completely, free of charge. I don't know if I went kind of off target on your question a little bit.
No, that's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. And so, like, if somebody wanted you at an event, how would they go about doing that?
They can reach out to us on Instagram, South Florida chapter PRSL. They'll come to myself or my chapter vice president Cody. That stuff will come to us directly. We do, I say we want to do every event, but we won't do every event. And I'm very firm on, I want to work with people that care as much about the community as I do. For everything that PRSL does nationally, we're on tours with national headlining acts, Bad Religion, Sublime, all these, big name bands that everybody knows. And we're also very plugged in on our local scenes. And I tell every volunteer that same thing. No matter who we talk to, no matter who we interact with, whether it's a big giant name band or a small band from Cutler Bay or some, you know what I mean, some small little band, if they don't care as much about helping the community that we do, then that's just, there's no synergy there. There's what I care more about the mission than the notoriety, and that's what I expect from our volunteers as well. I don't want to be Insta famous. I don't need to be Insta famous. I want the mission to be famous. And I think, any organization that really cares probably has that at the forefront, of their mind. I don't care about the fame and how many likes I get on this or how many followers I have. As long as the mission is working and we're actively helping people, actively saving lives, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a lot of organizations out there, and a lot of the mission gets skewed along the way.
Of course.
Of course. I mean?
Of course.
Yamila, I know a lot of what you do, but I want you to share with people on the live, like what are some of the events that you guys do, and where can we find you guys?
So I almost feel like maybe JC and I are twins somehow from another mother, because
we're talking the same stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
a lot of his principles very much so align with ours, and no matter what type of event we do or who we're in front of, we have some very basic standards. So no matter where we are, we must have naloxone. Wherever we are, we must have testing strips. We provide condoms. We provide contraceptives as well. Depending, of course, sometimes now we're doing youth events, we'll keep it under the table and talk to the parents first instead, right? So we also, we do code switch a little bit depending on youth versus adults, etc. But those are our very basic tabling principles. Now, aside from that, we want to make sure that language access is just as important. So if that particular either individual, venue, event, outside of our outreaches that we already do in the community, are not going to keep the standard of making sure at minimum Spanish, at maximum Haitian Creole, most likely either we're not going to do it, or we try to build up a plan and let them know, hey, this is just as important for English speakers as it is for our Spanish speakers and our Haitian Creole speakers more so. So we've never had to do that before, thank God. If there is a discrepancy with language or accessibility, especially when it comes to folks with particular needs, folks that would need calming space, sensory space, etc., thankfully, crossing our fingers, folks have been very accommodating and understanding. And of course, just like JC said, we're very intentional with the people that we decide to collaborate with. And it's not, that we want to be special or that we're exclusive. No, we deal with a very vulnerable part of the community that have many intersections, not just people who use drugs. We work with sex workers. We work with folks that are undocumented. We work with individuals that have been chronically unhoused, and a number of other different dichotomies that we can get into when it comes to people who use drugs. We are people at the end of the day, so we have people problems. We're not going to put folks in the line where maybe they could get doxxed or clocked. We want to make sure that it is a completely safe space in every sense of the word. Trauma informed. It doesn't remind people of being in a carceral system, in the school to prison pipeline. Like, we keep all of those things into consideration. And most importantly, the vetting process. We make sure that before we collaborate with everyone, it's not just them saying, yes, we believe in your mission. We will make sure that we have that interview process with you. And from the get go, this is what we do. If you don't like it, maybe we can do a training. And if after that you don't like it, then, here's your Narcan and we'll go on our way. We want to make sure that our people are number one first.
Yeah. No, I think that if I could piggyback off that, I think that transparency between new relationships with different organizations is so important. Like I said earlier, it's mission critical that that's absolutely open as to what we do and what you do as well. Yeah, just super 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 important. There's a lot of instances, at least over the past year or so, of bigger quote unquote bans and stuff that we ourselves as an organization have had to sever ties with because something happened that was out of line with our core values. So yeah, it's definitely a game to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And learning along the way, getting into this work, you think it's, hey, we're nonprofit, we everybody's here to help, everybody's here to want to. It's honestly, it's not that. It's not that. It sucks that we learned that along the way. But again, we also find those people that are on the mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Yamila, if you could share a story or a moment that reminded you why this work matters, right? And if maybe a particular instance, doing outreach or anything that comes to mind.
Oh, there's so many instances that I think that I can pull, and I'm inspired the most by my unhoused community, my unhoused folks, because they're really the ones that have to go through the majority of the hate, the majority of being criminalized just for being who they are, just for the situation in which they're in. And a lot of our folks are so humble. They're like, I'll probably get a shirt off of their backs first if I'm ever in trouble than someone that is traditionally housed and might have some stigmatic values based on someone's situation. We just launched our mobile unit last December for World AIDS Day at Idea Exchange. And it was like one of the biggest projects that we've ever done. We were so excited to share it with everyone. And a lot of our participants that we always see in our Overtown outreach happen to be there. We have a lot of crossing, I guess I would say, between participants. A lot of our participants go to Idea Exchange to get supplies. A lot of our folks are your folks too for F Fentanyl. And this is also the importance of collaborating and why it's so beautiful to find your people in the nonprofit space too. But we designed this mobile unit to be a mobile drop-in center. Apparently, it's the first of its kind, at least in the state, and very few of them in the country where it's actually mobile. And we wanted to design a space that had our folks in mind. We created a community action board based on people living with HIV that have used drugs in the past or currently use drugs. We also created a focus group for individuals that are currently in sex work. We wanted to combine those individuals, them ideas in which they would have to approve first before we were to design the entire space. This is all trauma informed based. We leaned on them for the support. So it's all about them. Once our girls walked into the doors, I was so humbled. I can't say humbled. Like, I don't even know what the word that I would say is. I was in awe as to how comfortable they felt walking into that space. We designed the space to be almost like a living room, very cozy, weighted blankets, a sensory corner, art corner, a place where folks can kind of shop without needing money, basically, kind of like a clothing swap, and all of the smiles on their faces, all of I can't even say it. Like it's you would have had to be there, and you would have to see the videos to understand and actually be in the mobile unit. Not because it's our mobile unit, but because we shared it with them, and it's their mobile unit that they designed. That one day will stay with me forever. We knew that we did what we could for our people, and they got even more than what they asked for.
Awesome, awesome, and I remember that. I remember that, and one of the individuals came out, and I think she had gotten a purse, and she was so excited to to get that purse. Um, awesome, JC. Any story or moment that comes to mind in doing this work?
Yeah, like Melissa, I could think of a million so far. Particularly earlier this year, we were on tour. We were in Orlando at the Conduit venue up there, and while we were there, security came running up to our table. They had an overdose, active overdose in their bathroom. One of the bartenders had spotted that we had Narcan on the table when she was walking around, so she immediately went and grabbed them, and we were able to, give them Narcan, administer Narcan to that person while people were calling 911, and be able. By the time 911 got there, the person was already pretty coherent, and talking and breathing and stuff like that. But that was the first time, which I don't know. Thankfully, probably I would say maybe thankfully, that's the first time that we were at an event with volunteers and were actually called into action specifically, at this event. And that's happened for, multiple chapters around the country. I think what we see the most are two different stories, and every story is as meaningful as the last. It's people coming to the table, either saying that they used Narcan for one of their friends or somebody and was able to save their friend's life, or they were out at a random place somewhere and saw somebody and were able to, save that person's life. Same thing with the bone marrow registry. When somebody comes to the table and says, "Oh yeah, we saw you guys at Lollapalooza and I signed up for the registry and I just donated, last month to somebody that needed a bone marrow transplant." Like every one of those kinds of like success stories are incredible. Like last month alone, we handed out almost 1,300 doses of Narcan, and that's around the country. I think Florida, our chapter year, I think we're at probably like 200 of that or something like that. And just in March alone, 460 people onto the National Bone Marrow Donor Registry. So it's 460 potential lives that can be saved. So, and you hear that like with anything, any kind of that stuff like makes you want to keep doing it. When you hear those success stories from people, that whatever work you're doing affected them in a transformative way. It's exciting.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing on that. And it's always, it gives you that motivation, right? It's just like, we're doing something. We're doing something.
We're doing something right. Right.
Amazing. JC, like on the other side of things, right? Has there been any resistance from any type of festivals or organizations or any of them that they don't get it, they don't see what you guys are doing?
100%, 100%, and it's not right, but it's okay. Like for instance, we had one of our chapters on the West Coast. They were at, because we do all kinds of shows. Yes, we're Punk Rock Saves Lives, but we do any kind of event. We do, punk rock, metal, country. this happened to be a country music event, and they saw the Narcan, and they saw the all the different other harm reduction stuff, and the LGBTQ supporting literature that was on the table, and there was an absolute problem. Not only with the concert goers, but with some of the staff there as well. Like literally taking stuff off the table and throwing it into the garbage can in front of volunteers. It was a pretty significant thing. And we see that at some events and stuff too, but not to that extent. But people that are like, oh, why are you handing out Narcan? It's because they're uninformed of how serious it is, or how important, unfortunately, it is to be able to have those kinds of life-saving meds available for the community. It's a lack of information. It's a lack of information. It's either wanting to learn about it yourself, or just wanting to listen to anybody that's talking about it. You're being willfully ignorant of the world around you. It is what it is. It kind of comes with the work, and I think that's what's important about organizations like ours, is that we're regular people just like anybody else, and it's part of our job, at least for me, part of my job is to inform the uninformed about why these missions are so critical. Maybe you don't know somebody that would need Narcan one day. Maybe you don't hang out with those circles. Oh, I don't like those people that do, and that's fine. But you go out to bars, you go out to restaurants, you go out to anywhere, might see somebody passed out. If you have any kind of empathy, you're going to want to do something for that person. Why not have an extra tool in your toolbox to try and save that person's life until EMTs get there? So it's kind of for everybody, and I think that education is a key part of it.
So important. Yeah, and I know Yamila can agree. We've come across a lot of folks like that.
Yeah.
And Yamila, like it's similar question. Like in how do you deal with folks that don't get it, right? How do you deal with folks that don't understand how big impact fentanyl is impacting our communities?
So it depends on who I'm speaking to, and I'm very much on not matching someone's tone if they're aggressive at first. I'll try to take a step back for my own self for a moment, breathe, and then of course, if you're continuing with the same energy, I will match your energy. When it comes to this particular area that we're in the Treasure Coast particularly, 2 hours makes a huge difference between South Florida and the Treasure Coast. The lack of information, it's a more conservative area, and it's killing our people. I'm constantly doing studies for presentations, and to basically prove my point of what's going on when it comes to the overdoses in this area. And they're not going down, they're going back up again. Was a little bit of a blip in the radar, but it's right back up. And some of the folks, even unhoused individuals, right? Because at the end of the day, people need to understand this. Just because you're unhoused doesn't mean that you use drugs. Just because you're unhoused doesn't mean that you don't have any knowledge on drugs. At the end of the day, just because you're unhoused, it doesn't mean that you are going to fall into everybody's box. That is simply a person that is out on the street for a specific set of circumstances that any of us can go to tomorrow. I can lose my home tomorrow. Anybody can lose our homes to whatever disaster at any given time tomorrow. It doesn't have to be about drug use specifically. So I have gotten cases in the past where folks challenge me, albeit also high, which I've found that to be ironic. And I do get folks that say to me, well, I'm not an addict, which I do hate that word. I'm just putting it out there as one of the many words. I'm not a junkie. I don't do heroin. That's just not my thing. I don't hang out with those people. I've had people tell me to my face, I will not save that person. So,
Yes.
yeah. And thankfully, that has been only a handful of people. And again, people that I'm speaking to that are also on substances, they might not be on crack or cocaine or whatnot, but they're on alcohol. You know, they're still on a substance. There's this hierarchy that people don't see of substances where someone that does alcohol is going to put themselves at this much higher pedestal than someone that's doing literally any other substance that's
Mm.
not alcohol. So one of the biggest things that I use is, for one, I humanize myself. If I didn't have a chance to tell them my story, I will let them know, hey, you're speaking to someone that lost someone. You're speaking to someone that has lost more than one person. And I take the moment to educate them. If at the end of the day they don't get it, they don't get it. I had my dad, poor guy, I put him alone one time for tabling in the Treasure Coast during International Overdose Awareness Day. And he had all the Narcan, he had all the Plan B, and he had an individual that came up to him and said, well, I think that what you're doing is against God. Do you know what it is that you are giving out to the people in this community? And my dad is probably more direct than I am. He was just like, well, I'm really sorry that you feel that way, but I think it's the opposite. And I hope that God blesses you.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Well,
Outstanding.
it's
I love
matching
Outstanding.
that.
energy.
Well
Yeah, it's
played.
matching
Yeah.
energy. It's trying to educate, but you're not going to win everybody over. You're not,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Now I
yeah,
think
no,
I like to try and pick up that pick up on that energy as quick as I can, because that guides the conversation. You know, like, are you really? If I know you're not going to be receptive to anything that I might want to try and tell you about, then it's like, all right, you know, maybe we'll just figure out a way to kind of back out of this conversation. You know, let
yeah,
bygones be bygones and whatnot.
yeah. You gotta pick your battles, right?
Right.
And some of
Right.
them, it's not gonna, you're not gonna change their minds, right? And so you
Right.
move on to the next person where that you can help, right? And I've dealt with those particular situations, and
Yeah.
you know,
But it's, you know, it's admittedly tough sometimes, you know, especially when they're really directly attacking people or community that you care about, because they're trying to elicit that response from
yes,
you. You know, it's really tough. You know, there's a few buttons that are really hard for me to push, or, you know, hard, you know, they get pushed for me, and it's like a, you know, yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
yeah, yeah. And at the same time, we got to remember we're representing our organizations there, and we cannot go
Exactly.
the way we really want to go.
Exactly right. Exactly right. If I want to keep doing what I'm doing, I should probably
Exactly that.
just, yeah.
So, okay, let me see here. Yamila, uh, what does healing look like for your community? Not just survival, but healing and thriving.
So, healing for my community means that one word that is apparently illegal nowadays, and that's, or three sets of words that make one, and that's diversity, equity, and inclusion. When it
Mm,
comes to racial and social justice, that is part of the core values of our work. We are a board of directors that not just is comprised of people with lived experience, but people that are part of the 2S LGBTQIA community, people that are people of color, me included. So we would be remiss to not give or shed spotlight to why we're in the positions that we are in. At the end of the day, the war on drugs is over 100 years old at this point, and the war on drugs has been created with the intention of being racist. Let's just be clear. So before we heal from our own individual wounds, of substance use disorder, I invite my people to take a look deeply, quickly, and take a look back. I provide them education on this historical level of how long we have been forced to be oppressed, but still we rise, still we thrive. We still find a way to help each other. We are a people that has always thrived in community, that has not done well, and I don't think any human can do well in isolation. This is a part of being connected with each other, being able to break generational patterns. One of the things that we discuss when it comes to generational pattern breaking is getting to the essence and the identity of who you are. Once you start not just shedding the onion peel a little bit, not just with yourself, but also truly loving your identity, truly loving the color of your skin, truly loving the texture of your hair, or the language that you speak, or where you come from. That's cultural recovery capital. That is part of the systems of care that all the big wigs in government have taught us, right? SAMHSA and some of the bigger organizations. You cannot have culture out of the picture. We also do this in terms of ancestral practices. There is more than one way to heal when it comes to chaotic drug use. And one of the ways to heal for us is to be able to show people how to tap into their ancestral practices, how to, again, use art and music, which is all ancestral at the end of the day. This is all rooted in things that we've learned from our ancestors, not only to communicate, but to express ourselves, be in community, and really use our brains to the highest capacity to be able to work with each other and truly create what community care is going to look like, without having that basis of culture to then draw from different facets of healing, whether it be Ifa practice, whether it be Reiki, or whatever the case may be, just throwing some stuff out there. We're not showing people that we see them if we just throw the standard. There is no one size fits all, and there's definitely no one size fits all for people of color.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. And I know you've been hardcore on pushing that. You even teaching me some of those things with our organization, and kind of telling me again and again. So JC, in working in this with Punk Rock Saves Lives, what have you learned from outreach at shows and festivals that traditional methods might miss?
I think music, number one, no matter what form it comes in, is such an important tool for mental health and recovery. Music is so powerful. No matter where you get it from, any type of music is just powerful therapy. We do these shows, we do these festivals, and my favorite thing about them is, like I kind of alluded to earlier, is the surprise on people's faces when they see an organization like ours that they've never heard of before, that exists, and that we provide the kind of things that we do. It fosters, that kind of like a safe space mentality, because maybe there's not a lot of people that they want to, that they feel are on their same level, that they can talk to about their substance abuse story, or any of their kind of story, whether it's substance abuse or mental health problems or any kind of stuff like that. And to view us as a safe place, to kind of we give people the opportunity to really share their story, and not judgmental. Not, we're going to have you sign up for this email list and we're going to reach out to you, and see, you reach out to us whenever you need to. It's so the community knows that there's other community-based organizations that are truly out there just to help and make them better, and share our stories, back and forth, and I learn something from people at shows every day, as much as I hope they learn from us at events. I think, untraditional in the sense that, a lot of music events and things that you go to, you don't see nonprofit organizations or organizations that are handing out harm reduction stuff, you know. And I can ask you about that specifically, Tom, with you guys doing Ultra. How many other people there outside of the EMT station had Narcan available, you know, that they were just handing out? You didn't see one, you know. I mean, if you did, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, and I've never, you don't see that anywhere else, you know. You don't see it at the Lollapaloozas or the Riot Fests or the Rockvilles or, you know, Rolling Louds or, you know, any kind of these events, unless it's somebody like, you know, F Fentanyl or you know, our organization, or, you know, somebody that is in that space, you know, that harm reduction space. You know, and the more organizations can have those opportunities open to them, the more partnerships we can make, and the more people we're going to help, you know, because of that. You know, a lot of people don't like the traditional method of therapy. You know, I have PTSD from 2 combat tours. I don't like talking to a therapist. I do not like going to the VA, even if they have combat experience and this, that, you know, XYZ. I want to talk to my brothers. I want to talk to people that know exactly what I've gone through. And that's what I experience with, you know, the community that comes to meet us at the table. You know, the people that are at risk overdose, at risk or unhoused already, or at risk of being unhoused. They see we're on the same playing field. So that, you know, once they see that, it kind of breaks that tradition. They know, okay, I can get help, and I don't have to go that traditional route. I don't have to call a doctor. I don't have to try and get a referral to somewhere. I don't have, you know, it all works together. And it's music. Music brings people together, and then they see us, and it just keeps, you know, it just keeps working. One hand washes the other.
You know? I completely agree, and you know, it just makes sense, right? You know, the music and it doesn't matter what kind of music, right? Whether you like the music, you don't like the music, you show up and people are receptive to that,
Right.
Especially hearing people with lived experience, right? Whatever experience it is, with, like, you know, and sharing that.
Sure.
You did mention, you know, with Ultra, with us, it's like they didn't initially let us in there. You know, it wasn't easy to get in there initially, right? But over time, their view has changed, and you know, thankfully, we're hoping that happens to even those folks that you know, turned your table over, man. Like, you never know what's going to happen over time, right? People change and people experience these things, right? Especially if they've been personally affected, right? We see that so many times with, you know, unfortunately with politicians, right? They're going after a certain thing, and something affects their family, and then they change.
Right.
And so, you know, it is, we just keep going until, you know, so they get it. So let me see, we got about 11 minutes. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, because I see the questions in the chat, lady. I'm gonna answer yours as well, but I like wasted youth's question is really good. How do you deal with the current administration and potential restrictions they might impose? I love that question. I especially try to stay under the radar. I don't, and none of us do. Especially working in the state of Florida and you know, or operating in the state of Florida, and you know, the attacks on women's rights and reproductive rights, and attacks on people's born with right to do whatever they want with their body. You know, I take that extremely seriously. You know, we hand out, you know, emergency contraceptive as well. You know, we're partnered with another grassroots, you know, harm reduction organization, different people. You know, so we have a steady supply of that, and the Narcan and things as well from Project Opioid of Florida. And I post it all. Because I want the community to know that we have this stuff available. If they come after us for something, that I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I'm not worried about it. The mission is more important than, you know, a bureaucrat sitting in Tallahassee telling me what I can't hand out for free to a community that needs it. That opinion doesn't hold any water with me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I think, you know, that I could probably speak for a lot of the rest of our organization, feels the exact same way. We do what we do because we feel like it's the right thing to do, and that's it. We're gonna keep helping until somebody shuts it down. But good luck. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
I
tough.
also wanted to chime in on that question because immediately when I saw the question, I was like, yes, I want to answer this
Mhm.
question. Because unfortunately, we've had to, I mean, well,
Excuse
let me actually turn back. Harm reduction is a form of resistance. Harm reduction is based on a political movement. If you're practicing harm reduction, you have to understand that you are part of the resistance, because at the end of the day, it's rooted in radical love. And radical love, again, is also another form of resistance. To truly love your brethren, let's say that, to truly love a person unconditionally, love your community, love the person that you see in front of you, that takes a lot of guts. And to put that type of love under the radar does not exist, just like JC just spoke about. And when you're used to, now in 2025, being as loud as possible within the harm reduction space, specifically as a woman, specifically as a person of color, specifically as someone that's
me.
part of the LGBTQ community, as part of an immigrant family. Like, I have all the isms. I can't, there's no way that I could even hide. Like, I could try to pass, but I can't even hide. And so is the rest of our community. If we stay silent, then the marginalized groups that are next to us, like my trans brothers and sisters, we're not
Mm.
going to be able to not just resist, but we're not going to be able to survive. Now, the things that we do under the radar, I mean, I'm not going to give you all my cards, but
Mm.
as far as the majority of the stuff that we do, they'll come at us when they come at us, just like what JC
Mm.
said.
Yeah.
Yep. Cross that bridge. Cross that bridge when we get to it. The mission is too important. The mission is too important. It never
Completely
comes into
agree.
my. Yeah.
We do the work until we
Yep.
can't do the work anymore, and
Yep.
especially with the climate that's out there, you know what I mean, and they're trying to shut stuff down.
Right.
uh we do
And
it
then
anyway.
and then I'll find another way to do it. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
this
find
work
another
never
vehicle.
dies.
It's okay. Yep. Yep. You're gonna have to come after that one too. That's all right.
So lady has a question. Thank you both to both speakers. My question is for JC. Are there any upcoming events for Punk Rock Save Lives in Miami?
Miami, not right now. Only because just nothing has come up. We have a ton of stuff going on in May in Broward County, and then we're going up to oh gosh, it escapes me. The Florida Recovery Leadership Summit,
Yeah.
which is in New Smyrna,
Yeah.
May 19th and 20th. Which I'm gonna send you guys some information on that as well. But yeah, there's a bunch of local events. Anything that we do, lady, if you follow us, South Florida chapter Punk Rock Saves Lives, follow us on Instagram. Any event calendars that we post or any events that we have going on are posted straight to Instagram. And if you reach out to me directly via that email that was going across the screen, I'll send you email, on how to sign up. Yeah, and Liz will let you know as well. Yeah, Liz just popped into the chat. She's from our Central Florida chapter. So hi, Liz, welcome. So yeah,
Fantastic.
reach out to either JC at punkrocksaveslives.org or South Florida chapter. I'll send you info on how to sign up on the volunteer portal, and then you'll be able to see every event that we're ever at. If there's ever a spot available, you're welcome to it.
Fantastic. Make sure I got everybody. Um, Earlier, Jordan talked about she's a Texas ambassador from Into Light Project and would love to connect. We're a nonprofit that memorializes the loss to overdose, addiction, and fentanyl poisoning through means of art. Our next exhibition will be in the University of Texas at Austin for the entire 25-26 academic year. So I just put it on the screen there, but if you want to check them out, they're at intolightproject.org. Awesome. Doing great work. Thank you. Um, And I got one more question for y'all. Um, what is one thing someone watching this can do right now to support the fight against the fentanyl crisis? Right. I know there's a number of things we can do, but like if you had to put it down to one, what would you recommend? Yamila first.
So start getting into civic engagement. This is not the time to be sitting down and commenting in the comment sections. This is the time to pick up the phone and speak to your representatives, speak to your commissioners, go to those commissioner meetings, actually be a voice. Because us as a nonprofit, we can only do so much, and we're all doing those things. We make sure that we advocate for you guys all the time, but it takes numbers. Right now, the halt fentanyl bill is on the president's desk, ready to be signed. That is going to be detrimental to our efforts, and it will continue to exacerbate the war on drugs. We all know what that has done to our communities, of any community, rather. So take the time to get to know who are the people that you guys have voted for and make them work for you. We pay them. Our taxes go to them being of public service so that they can serve us. Not just a protest, call, email, text. You can even text the White House nowadays. I kid you not. I don't know if this administration is looking at text or not, but it's there. Get involved. There is no more just sitting on your hands.
Awesome, awesome. JC, same question. What's one thing someone watching can do right now to support the fight against fentanyl crisis?
Yeah, almost same answer. Get up and get active. There's so many there's so much opportunity. Everybody, even people that are doing great, everybody knows that people need help, and yourself, if you know that you need help, and if you know that you found a tool somewhere in your journey that helped you, know that you can help somebody else. You can use that tool to help somebody else, to give somebody else a new perspective. Like Yamila said, it's more important ever now to get active right now and to get out and do something right now. And there's plenty of organizations, if you don't want to do it yourself, because it is a daunting task, when you're sitting by yourself and you want to help, but how do I do it? Because it's just me. It's not just you. It's not just you. There's communities of people that are already doing it that would love to have you on board, that would love to have an extra set of hands. And it's as easy as just reaching out. Send a message on Instagram, or if you see them out at an event somewhere, go talk to them at the event. It's that easy to get involved. That easy to get involved.
Absolutely, completely agree. And you see scrolling at the bottom, everybody's contact information, so you can get involved with any one of our organizations. That's just a few of the work that's being done in Miami, in Broward, in yeah, Mila, what was your Fort Pierce, right? And your area,
The Treasure Coast of the
Treasure
cluster.
Coast. Yeah.
The Treasure Coast.
Treasure Coast. I had a brain fart there, but um, again, we're out there, and this the name of this live is Grassroots, right? Boots on the ground. So we're
Right.
meeting people where they're at, and we you see directly the effect right now. But again, there's also what Yamila was talking about in the advocacy and reaching out to get some of these changes, because sometimes it goes from the top to the bottom, and it affects everybody. All
So
right, so
where are we going to be next? Where is F Fentanyl? Where can we find you guys next?
sure, sure. Well, we're constantly doing trainings, right? We do at the local libraries, which our next one is at the Westchester Regional Library on the 29th, which is Fentanyl Awareness Day. People could scan that and sign up to that. Everything we do is free. We never charge for anything. Um, any of our services, any of our supplies, everything's free. The only thing that we do sell is stuff that goes to our mission, which is like hats and shirts, which goes directly to our mission. Um, And next month, we're also doing at the Miami Beach Library, right? Another great event that we're doing in August is Overdose Awareness Day with the Black Poster Project, right? Which
Yeah,
we're going to
that's
be doing it at the University of Miami. Um, no, not that one. Hold on, this one. University of Miami, August 29th. With the Black Poster Project, we'll be recognizing people who lost to overdose with the posters. We'll have guest speakers and um, be a great event. I know Yamila, you have an event coming up. If you want to share one more time before we close out.
Yes. So we make International Overdose Awareness Day a whole week. First we start the tour with you at University of Miami, and then this year we're going to do something completely different. So we typically do the artist healing event or our art auction every single year in May. May is my sister's birthday, so this is a nice time to commemorate her and also those that we've lost to overdose. However, because it is such a big milestone for us, we thought, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it during International Overdose Awareness Day. Let's put it as part of our tour, and we could commemorate everybody together, bring more people from the community together, and expose them to art, music, and dance as a form of healing.
Awesome, fantastic. Sorry, I was messing around with this thing. Hold on.
It's
oh, messing
okay.
around with stuff.
There we go. Um, and so I do want to thank you guys for joining us today. You guys are doing amazing work in the community. I think we're going to do this on a regular basis. We also want to collaborate. Well, let's keep in contact and collaborate, do some work together.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. And either, both of you and also, anybody looking in the chat, everybody's invited. It's a free event, May 3rd in West Palm Beach. It's 561 Music Fest number 4. So 20 of the best local bands in the Tri-County area, 2 stages. It's at Meyer Amphitheater. So yeah, like I said, follow us on Instagram. All the information is on there. It's gonna be a good time.
Fantastic. Awesome. And again, contact information right here. This is for Punk Rock Saves Lives. Um, right. Make sure that that's the Instagram, South Florida chapter, PRSL. And then Yamila, make sure you follow her as well. Yaya underscore Por Vida, Por underscore Vida on Instagram. And of course, we want you to follow us as well with F Fentanyl. We are F underscore uh, F Fent underscore. Sorry. Uh, so again, I want to thank you guys again for an amazing live. Um, feel free, anybody that's on this, feel free to message us if you have any more questions. We'll send it to our speakers. And please share this live, right? The more this gets out, the more people can answer the questions and reach out to us on YouTube and Facebook. Um, so thank you. I'll let you guys have the rest of your day. Have a great night and good night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, JC.